So the word around the water cooler is that thin is back in, like 90s skeleton and bones thin is back in. And that scares me to a level that like I have not been afraid in a while. It felt like there for a while that we were like headed in the right direction with like body positivity and like inclusion with like all different types of bodies and you know, and just like, all of these different kinds of like body styles, body types, skin color, like, genders, like all it felt like we were headed in the right direction. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, like there's this like reversal back, it
Mhm.
seems like. And that really like I said, it really scares me.
Today I have with me Abigail from the Manic Pixie Weirdo podcast, who also joined me on season one for the anxiety episode. Welcome, Abigail.
Hi, I'm so glad to be back. Thank you for having me again.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I really obviously enjoyed our first conversation, and yes, now I'm more centered. um, yeah, so I enjoyed our first conversation, and a while ago, I think a few months ago, we were talking in Twitter Spaces, and we started talking about body image, and that was something that we both related to it, like seeing in social media landscape all of the BBLs and the plastic surgery. And I remember I was like, oh my God, sometimes it triggers me to want to do something, though I know realistically I won't. Money wise, I
Mhm.
think it's too much. I can invest in something else. And I also hate the idea of going through so much pain. And I'm like, for who and what at the end of the day am I doing that? Um, so yeah, I let's maybe start there. How is your experience in this landscape of beauty standards, unrealistic beauty standards, basically that we're held to?
Well, I'm worried. I'm very worried. It seems like so the word around the water cooler is that thin is back in, like 90s skeleton and bones thin is back in. And that scares me to a level that like I have not been afraid in a while. And I mean it, you see it a lot with um it felt like I guess let me back up. Like, it felt like there for a while that we were, like, headed in the right direction with, like, body positivity and, like, inclusion with, like, all different types of bodies and, you know, and just, like, all of these different kinds of, like, body styles, body types, skin color, like, genders, like, all it felt like we were headed in the right direction. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, like there's this like reversal back, it
Mhm.
seems like. And that really like I said, it really scares me. As somebody who has struggled with their body image like my whole life, like I still to this day like have issues with it. But I don't know what that says about us as a society. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And I don't know what that says about like the industry of like body image, like as far as like makeup, modeling, like clothes. I don't know what it says about like that industry as well, as far as like did they really mean it? Does that make sense? Like did they really mean what they
Yeah.
said, or was it kind of like, oh yeah, like we have to do this now because there's this push for it, but the reality is that like that's not what we want. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like, just kidding, jokes on you, like that's not
Right.
what's happening anymore. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It's just as you were saying that, the thought popped into my head that it's almost crazy that something as natural and diverse as our human bodies is basically part of a trend. And it's not to say that now only with social media that it's now only happening because we can see, I think it was the Victorian era that more like voluptuous ladies were in fashion, since we're talking like that anyway. And then the skinny came. So it seems to be like it goes and comes back and it goes and it comes back. Though I think with what we have seen indeed with the social media, like you said, it was so diverse. So it wasn't like only voluptuous women is now in fashion and skinny women. It was, diversity in even ability and disabled people, people who are missing legs. And I really liked it. It felt in a sense like evolution, and then for them to like pull it back, I can't explain how kind of baffled I was that this is. I'm like, really, is this how can you go so far in the inclusion realm and diversity realm only to be like, as you said, just kidding. And now it's interesting for me to see what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
um are people gonna go back and really follow trends? Like, is everyone gonna go back and try and follow to be skinny again because it's a trend? Or kind of is it too late in the sense of we've seen the diversity, we've already celebrated it, and yeah, do you think it will be too late in that sense that still some people will celebrate this diversity?
I think that I mean, this is what gives me, like, hope is that, like, my hope is that obviously, okay, this isn't the hope part, so take that part out. But, to answer your first question, I do think
Mhm,
that, there will be some people that, will fall back into that, like, thin is in, thin is cool, like, thin is pretty, thin is beautiful, thin is what you have to be, in order to be considered, beautiful. But, and so I do think that there's going to be a segment of the population that falls into that trap. Unfortunately, I do think that that's gonna be a lot of, like, the younger generations, younger kids. It's always the kids. It always hits kids, like, the
mhm,
hardest. Um, but I do think that there is going to be an element to it where, like, and this is the part that gives me the hope, is that, like, yeah, no, 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 like, we already decided that that beauty standard of, like, everybody has to be this, like, perfect, thin, like, supermodel kind of style. We already decided that like, isn't the only way. And so
right.
I hope that there will be a larger segment of the population that will fall into that category of people that are like, "No, no, we're not going back. We already decided that we were, like, headed in this, like, very inclusive, very, body positive, body forward, like, self-image, self-love kind of, um like, way of thinking and, like,
Mhm,
an image around body, and so yeah, like, my hope is that, like, there will be more people in that group than there will be in the other group. Now that's just a matter of, like, I think that really comes down to us as, like, individuals where, like, we really have to use our voice, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's on a radio show, whether it's, a journalist, like, it doesn't matter, like, use your voice however you can and let the world know that, like, we're not going back. We refuse to go back. We've already decided that, like, that your one way is not the only way.
mhm. Right. Oh, sorry. And I just wanted to backtrack a little bit in the sense of our own, to bring in our own like personal experience with this, why it's important to both of us. I assume to more people. Um, I know for myself, I also struggled with it my whole life. What I had is basically were four women in the direct family. So that's me, my older sisters, and my mom. And my older sisters and my mom, that of course, I'm so much younger than all of them because it's like 7 and 9 years different between my sisters and I. So I witnessed them from pretty small already battling with their own kind of the body image. And what they did a lot of times is they went on diets for maybe a month or two, and they would lose weight and it's all nice and dandy, and then that fails and they fall over into the same eating patterns again. They stop working out and then the body weight doubles, and then I also witnessed the loading then of your body,
Mhm.
and that made me feel uncomfortable in my own body in so many ways, but for so long that, as you said, it sticks with you from a young age. And now I'm pretty content with my shape, to be honest. I'm happy. But one of the things for me is like, because my weight also fluctuated throughout my 30 years of life, it fluctuated so much that my skin is pretty loose, and that is my main area of um, let's say discomfort with myself, with my body, and I almost want to say shame to some extent, because we're shown these gym bodies, and if it's not a gym body, is a plastic surgery body, and if not, it's a combination of both,
Mhm.
which just adds levels of the complication because I hate going to the gym. And we already established the plastic surgery thing. So it has some very psychological toll on me, and also in terms of anxiety. Like I get, and especially now as a dancer, I mean, belly dancing, you shake a lot, and then my my leg starts flapping, and I get very body conscious about it. So, like, what is your story with your body and your body image?
Believe it or not, I have a pretty similar story. Um, I grew up around like I don't want to say like fad diets, but
Mhm.
kind of also fad diets.
Yeah.
And my mom was always very like conscious about her body weight, and um, it I can't I don't wanna, like, diagnose my mom, but,
Mhm.
if I had to guess, she has some sort of, like, body dysmorphia, as far as, like, the way that she just, like, perceives herself and the way that she perceives her body,
Right.
and she is constantly, like, getting like, she was, excuse me,
Mhm.
getting, like, constantly down about herself, like, about her body, and, that kind of, resonated and, like, translated onto, her kids, whether she realized it or not. It's just sort of like it's just what happened, and even to a certain extent, my dad too, very and that's a part that I don't think a lot of people talk about is, like, the body dysmorphia in men,
Right.
but my dad definitely probably has some body dysmorphia as far as, like, who like, within himself,
Mhm.
um, because my parents were always doing, some kind of diet, whether that was to lose weight or to keep the weight off, or, they were doing and these were, like, extreme diets, like, I hate to say I mean, I do kind of hate to say extreme because, a lot of people use Atkins,
Mhm.
but, to a certain extent, it is kind of an extreme diet where you really, really, really limit your sugar intake.
Right.
And, uh, it I mean, to be perfectly fair, the diet works. The problem is that it's not sustainable. Once you get off the diet, like you were talking about, the weight comes back on, and it kind of feels like it doubles,
Right.
and it comes back on twice as fast, and then it doesn't go away as fast, and all the things, and then all the things that uh just the imaging that you see and all this stuff. I mean, like I have, and so personally, I have struggled with my body image my entire life, starting from a very, very, very young age. And, uh, to make a kind of a long story short, it morphed into me having my own like body dysmorphia. And I've kind of come to the, like, acceptance and to the, like, terms to a certain extent. I'm not gonna say, like, full acceptance, but, like, to a little bit, there is some acceptance there that, like, I will never see what other people see when they look at me. I will just never see it.
Right.
My brain chemistry literally changed, and so I will like, it is it will be impossible for the rest of my life for me to be able to see what other people see when they look at me, um, and when I look at myself in the mirror. And so, I mean, and I still get bouts of, things where, like, um, I will toy with the idea of, like, getting Botox
Right.
or, something like that. Now, I have seriously considered doing it, and to me, I'm such a stubborn person that if I decide to do something, then I will save the money that I need to save in order to get, like, what I wanna get kind of a thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um but I have hesitancy around even getting Botox because there's, like, that reality part of my brain that's like, you're almost 30, you don't really need it. This is just something that, like, the world is telling you that you need. Also, I don't know exactly how I feel about injecting myself with one of the most deadly poisons in the world. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, and then, the muscles start,
Yeah,
uh
and then the
yeah.
repercussions of doing that because, I've seen a lot of people on social media that are like, I got Botox and I originally only started getting it, like, in my forehead at, like, certain spots,
Mhm.
but because I got the Botox in those certain spots, then all the other muscles around my face started to relax, and it's kinda one of those things where, like, once you start, you kinda have to do it forever, like shaving your
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah. Oh, oh my god. The whole body hair thing is a different, rabbit hole in itself. I'll get back to that in a second. But it's so true, and you see indeed, a lot of celebrities, because they start the pressure for them is like even higher because they're constantly in the light and to get work. The Hollywood really prices the youth look, and they see someone like Jennifer Lopez that is like 50 and has to still look like she's 30.
Gorgeous. Yeah,
Of, of course, but there's some help in there, and then
right.
we see that and we want to reproduce that, and we want to grow old young, if it makes sense. And
Age gracefully, if you will.
yes. So basically, yeah, it does play with your mind, like maybe I have to do that as well. Even I mean, I haven't thought about doing it now, but it's something that has come in my mind as to do maybe when I'm Jennifer's age, to to add to the gracefulness of my aging, as you said. But yeah, I do consider it, and yeah, obviously then for my loose skin, I consider removing the skin, and because I admit to sometimes binge watching these shows on plastic surgery,
Mhm.
and I would just it's curiosity part, but because I watch it, it becomes kind of like a programming. Like, oh, look at these people are going in for their fifth jobs. All I want is like a little bit of skin loose. It's only once. You start kind of like,
Right.
kind
You
of,
start justifying it to yourself in a way
yeah,
that you're just like, "Oh, it's just one time. It's just."
yeah.
But they don't ever talk about the upkeep. They never talk about, like, how often you have to continue to do this or, like,
Mhm.
what the upkeep is, and the cost of that is like, come on now.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's insane. Yeah. I now I'm already struggling to just invest in my own business as is,
Right.
let alone like the price of plastic surgery would be like sky high. It's just insane. So that, yeah, again, it's something. If we take it back to it being a trend, and it being so in your face that it's like they're programming you and you're like programming yourself by intaking this. It's just something, another commodity basically for capitalism or something else to sell. What the celebrities are basically selling is this unreachable um, ideal of beauty, and it was already being done with Photoshop before, but this is like
Yeah.
they upped the level.
Oh,
And
yeah. Well, and it's so
yeah.
insidious too. It's so insidious and very, like, sneaky and tricky because, like, you'll get that narrative of it's like you're talking about, like, plastic surgery shows, like, Botched, a very
Oh
popular plastic
yes, I
surgery show
watched
in the
this one a
United
lot.
States.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, you watch these shows and and then you start, your brain starts going, "Oh, maybe I could do like that's not that bad. Like that's not super extreme, like but then, you have to define what extreme is because, how
Mhm.
many surgeries do you go how far down this rabbit hole do you go kind of a
Right.
thing. But it's so insidious and so like sneakily done because, then you'll get people that'll say or, well just don't watch it just
Mhm.
don't watch it,
Yeah.
or, if it's that triggering for you, like, just don't watch it, or, don't buy the magazine, or don't, but it's really difficult not to do that when I don't know how it is where you live, but, like, here in the States, um, I mean, you go to the dentist office and they have TVs in the room, and
Mhm.
sometimes they just have, like, plastic surgery, they just have, like, botched, just, like, on the TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, like, you know or it's really difficult to get away from the magazines because,
Mhm.
they're in the grocery store. They're at every doctor's office known to man. They're in the waiting room of
Mhm.
every place that has a waiting room. Like,
Right.
don't even get me started on social media. It's everywhere on social media. Like, it is inescapable.
Mhm.
And it's really, really difficult to function in the world when you are constantly men and women are being bombarded with these completely unrealistic like standards, and no one is, I mean, very few, I'm not going to say nobody, but like very, very few people actually come out as far as like celebrities go and say,
Oh,
excuse me, I'm so sorry,
oh, okay.
and say, yeah, I've actually had plastic surgery, you know
Right.
or
Yeah, they gaslight us as well
or
about it.
um
Yeah.
right, right.
It's the worst, yeah. Uh, but you wanted to finish your sentence, sorry. You wanted to say something
Oh,
still.
no, no, no. No, 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 it's fine. I mean, I that's the other part too, though, is that it does feel like some progress has been made. It really does feel like some progress has been made, especially with, like, the body positivity movement and, I and I recently, I had to appreciate, like, I saw this interview with Channing Tatum. It was recent. The interview was not recent, but I recently saw the interview that he
Okay.
did, and they were talking about, I think he was on, like, Ellen or, like, one of those talk shows, like, morning talk shows or whatever, and they were talking about Magic Mike and the body standard that he had to do, and he was talking about, like, one of the reasons why he hasn't decided to do a Magic Mike 3 is because he can't take it. Like, it is
Mhm.
so incredibly difficult for him to look like it is just it's not possible for him to look
Right.
like that constantly. And so, I mean, there are these different things that are, like, coming out of the woodwork, and I just feel like we need to keep going in that direction. We need to keep going, in that in that way of thinking instead of, like, reverting back to this old, like, you know, you have to have a six pack in order to be
Yeah.
considered sexy, or
The
you
the
have to
Barbie and
have
Ken aesthetics.
yes, exactly. Yes. Yes, you
Yeah.
said it. Nailed it.
Yeah. And I had a lot of Barbies as a little girl, so yeah, at that time I didn't think like this is gonna affect me for the rest of my life, but yeah, it's there definitely. And I'm very happy that you had brought up the male body image again, um, because before when you mentioned your dad, I remember that it was after my breakup, I think, and I was talking to my cousin, the guy, about what happened in my relationship. That basically I was body shamed for something that I'm already like feeling shitty about like my loose skin and everything like that. And he basically said, "Oh, well, I have those issues too with my body." And I was like, I was so baffled because I never considered like it's from the female perspective and really being bombarded by so many like beauty standards for female. I never considered uh, how much it that some guys would undoubtedly have this issue. But once he said it, it like ring the bell. Like probably much more guys have this issue than I originally thought it was. And indeed, I don't. I think that's like an interesting thing to hear more about at some point. I don't know if the other men in your life also battle with this.
Well, my
Yeah.
husband, doesn't really. My husband doesn't, but that's because we try very hard to be, like, very body positive in my
Mhm.
household. Now it's just me and my husband, so it's just the 2 of us, like, there's no kids or anything like that.
Right.
But, I mean, he knows about, like, my struggles, with my body and, like, everything like that, and, um, he basically told me, like, "For right now, until you get to a place where you can sort of, like, trust your own eyes with your body, just trust me. Just trust what I
Wow.
say, and, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. So just
Mhm.
trust what I say." And so we kind of may have this, like, arrangement and agreement where, like, you know, he will tell me the truth about how I look. So if I'm like, "Does this make me look fat?" He's gonna tell me, like, it doesn't make you look fat, it just doesn't look good on you, it doesn't fit your body shape or your
Okay.
body type." It's not about looking fat. We never use that language. It's not about,
Mhm.
like, you're too fat or you're too skinny. It's just about, like, the aesthetic and it or it doesn't look he doesn't think it looks good on me. And
Right.
so but it's a two-way street. We have that, with a two-way street. And, I mean, one of the things that I love about my husband is that he has, like, a dad bod. I love that. I love his dad bod. I love the fact that he has, like, some belly fat that I can, like it's just cuddles, like, it just makes
Right.
cuddles better, like, I love it about him, and I mean, the one body part that he has that is, like, on point, like, as far as, like, if you were to ask him, because we don't go to the gym, we refuse,
Mhm.
we don't go to the gym, um but the one body part that, like, it looks like he works out as a lot, are his calves. He
Mhm.
always gets compliments on his calves, but that's just because
Yes.
we walk so much, and I'm so jealous because but like, that's the only piece of his body that, like, is toned and, like, just, like, where you're
Mhm.
just like, "Dang." But everything else I mean, we're just not like, we just can't. We can't it's like it's exhausting. And
Mhm.
so we try very hard with each other to have that, like, positive body, like, conversation and talk with each other. And so he doesn't really have like, I wouldn't say that he really has, like, body dysmorphia, or he's not really susceptible to, like, that type. My dad, on the other hand, yeah, yeah. My dad is constantly, there constantly trying to eat right, constantly trying to
Mhm.
figure out when he's gonna work out, constantly trying, and so, I kind of get like, I've seen both sides.
Right. I think it's beautiful that you have that understanding and I think trust also in each other to be upfront in a nice, respectable manner about how the other looks. I think that's very important because that's one of the things that I struggled with my ex. Um, it's not that I can't take any criticism or anything like this. It's really in the way you say it. And if you're touching on sore spots that there people I already had traumas about this. I
Right.
already had insecurities about it. So you as a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you, or even a friend or a family member, I think this is maybe a vital point to reach with all relationships where we can be honest with each other about each other's bodies, and in a respectable manner. And the thing that I remember this situation, I was at an event with my ex, and there was someone we knew there. There was more people that we knew, but this specific person, she gained some weight, and I remember my ex being really insensitive about it. And because she would be like, "Oh, are you pregnant?" And I hate this because I've got it before. I had it when I was like a teenager. I was still a virgin. I just had a little belly pouch, and someone asked me if I was pregnant. I was like, impossible, but well, thank you. That just called me fat. And so,
Yep. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
pro tip, never ask a woman or anyone with a uterus if they're pregnant. Never do that. It is so
no.
disrespectful and rude. Never, never, never do that.
Unless it's like noticeably a pregnant belly, then you will see
Right,
it. If not,
right.
just keep your mouth, and if they are, maybe they'll tell you. But yeah, it's really rude. And I was like, from coming from that understanding, now maybe 10 years later at this event, and my ex is being insensitive to this girl about it, I felt very weird being in between there, and I was trying to comfort the girl, like, no, you don't look pregnant or anything like that. But at the same time, she did gain some weight. And then it was maybe I ended up hurting her feeling more because it seemed like I was neglecting to um, kind of tell her that you gained some weight, which was not my intention. My intention was to take away that "are you pregnant"
Yep.
thing. And yeah, it's so hard, and I'm very happy you told me this story because now I'm gonna try and implement this maybe for the next time that I'm in such a situation, instead of being like completely neglecting the way they feel about their body. They have a mirror. They saw they had body weight come on as well. Instead of there's a word for it. Um, I can Anyway, it was
I
it
hate when
was
that
like a
happens. I
fancy
hate it.
word for that term.
I hate when
Like,
that happens.
um, I think, yeah, anyway, like not being honest with them, and instead of that, just to say, well, maybe you have gained some weight, but maybe also this particular outfit shows it more, or something of that kind. um but yeah, that was super uncomfortable situation
Oh,
to be in.
yeah.
um
Oh,
and
yeah, and boo on him for bringing it up and putting you in that situation, you
yeah.
know,
Well,
because that
that's
sucks.
even worse because it was a she, so she was like
Oh, I'm so
body
sorry. I did
shaming.
not mean to assume.
No, no, it's okay. But I mean, for me, it made it even worse that you're a woman making other women feel bad about their bodies. Maybe it's bad from both sides, and all like putting too much pressure on both. It's like we should celebrate each other, but we should celebrate each other, and the world is hard enough on us, um, for these beauty standards. So yeah, but anyway, that. But to go back to something you said earlier, which also I think affects body image a lot, um, is body hair. And I do think this is something that affects women a lot more because women are really expected to constantly be shaved and hair free, and
It's
it's
exhausting.
it's exhausting. And I a while back, I don't know how many years ago, I became quite comfortable with growing my body hair after, like, in my teenage years. As soon as I started growing the little bit of hair, I started shaving. So I already knew that I wasn't supposed to let the hair just hair on my body. Um, and then later on, I became comfortable letting it grow sometimes. When I'm tired of it, I shave it. But it is maybe for me more of something that I'm conscious of, self-aware of, than my actual like flabbies and everything because it's easier to shave, right? Than to get plastic
Right.
surgery. And
Mhm.
and as a dancer and like in ballet dancing we do this a lot. And everybody's always shaved, and I am so self-conscious of sometimes I'm not shaved. I don't feel like shaving, but I feel like dancing and I want to record that dancing. But then if I do this, you'll see my hair, and I feel so self-conscious about it. So do you think that like now we're progressing in terms of accepting the different body types and everything? We had some setbacks, but we still have to progress. But I feel like with body hair, we're still in whatever age we decided that women should be shaved.
Yeah,
Do you think
I
that
agree.
we can reach a point in time where people are comfortable with the fact that grown women also grow hair like men grow
I hope
hair?
so. I hope so. I really do because let me tell you, it's exhausting and it hurts too sometimes. If you've ever
Mhm,
got a bikini wax, it hurts. It is not comfortable, okay? Also, I don't wanna shave my legs all the time, because I mean, like, right now, like, as of this recording, um, I you could, like, braid my leg hair, like, it's so long. I do not wanna shave because I'm just and it's not because it's probably because I'm lazy, but it's also because, like, I don't want to. I just don't want like, I don't have time. I'm preoccupied with so many other things that I don't have time to, like, do all the things. Now I personally, I don't like body hair. I just don't like body hair. I don't like it on me. I don't like it on my husband. Luckily, I lucked out with my husband. He doesn't have any body hair. He can barely grow a beard.
wow.
So it's really funny. Um, but I and I think and that's something that I wanna work on with myself, is because I need to get more comfortable with myself about, like, body hair because, like, I've got it, and I've got a lot of it, and it grows really fast. Like, it is unnatural how this grows fast. I don't know if it's because my people are from cold places, like, just really cold places, and we
Mhm,
needed body hair, to, like, stay warm in the winters because we had to, like, huddle together in the cold um, and just drink a bunch of stuff and, I don't know if it was cold and, like, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's genetics,
right.
but, I mean, I I want to be at a place in I hope. I hope that at some point in my life, I can get to a place where I am comfortable enough with not shaving my arms that I don't really care. Like or
Mhm.
not my arms, I don't shave my arms, I shave, like, under my arms, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
the
about,
pits, yeah.
and it not be a point of contention for me where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, I am hideous because, like, I need to shave." I mean, I I I don't know if we'll ever get there, I hope we get there, and I hope we get there soon because it is exhausting and it costs so much money.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Especially if you do like the waxing, which is what I've been considering lately, because I have like all my hair on my body is as curly as this. It means that once I shave, once it grows back, I get a lot of ingrown hair, which is it's a known issue. That a lot of women of color with curly hair has this issue because of when it's growing and it's curling, it curls underneath the skin and then creates a lot of this.
Yeah, I
Um,
get them too, I get them too. My hair is naturally curly as well, so I get them
yeah,
too.
yeah. So that is a thing. One of the reasons why I decided, well, I better get kind of comfortable with my body here because I'm not gonna be removing it all the time because I actually hate the bumps and the ingrown hair more than I hate the body hair. And I tried at one point the lasering.
Oh
Uh,
my.
yeah,
How painful was
it
that?
was very painful. It was in my nether regions. So, and on top of that, I have, because my hair is so dark, they had to up the dosage.
Oh.
That- yeah, so it was pretty painful. I think I went maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I stopped because they kept growing the same, and I was like, okay, so if I do the math that because my hair is so, say, strong, and that they have to use extra power, that means that I have to go more times than usual to do this, and I'm like, get used to it. Get used to it. And yeah, so that was on my journey of becoming comfortable with my body hair. And yeah, now it's more for the performance reasons that I, as I said before, that I want to shave, um, because I become so self-conscious about it. Um, do though I find that, like, on men, and because I do also, I am also attracted to the men, that because I like them with beards. I like beards.
Mhm.
Usually that means that the rest of the body is also quite quite hairy. Which I had to get used to, because it's not only like with women mostly have like armpit hair, pubic hair, like I have a little bit on my belly, um,
Mhm.
and my legs is surprisingly, it's not hairless. The hair is kind of invisible, so I don't feel a need to shave.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah. So, and so yeah, so I don't, but this there, because I've had my legs waxed, and you see it
Mm.
on the wax paper, but if you
Mhm.
have to really look close to see it. And sometimes it's like super long, but you don't see it. So yeah, so
So jealous. Oh my gosh, I wish.
I lucked out somewhere after how hairy my belly is, at least that, you know.
Mine too, though. I oh my gosh, and I get, like, little black hairs because I made the mistake of trying to shave,
Mm,
my belly hair, and
right.
now because they grow back darker, you know? And
Yeah.
so, oh my gosh, yeah, it's a whole sorry.
I've also gone past the point of no return when it comes to shaving my belly, because before it wasn't that much. And like each time I shave, and the spots that were kind of as light as or as invincible, like with my leg, also started coming back like thicker and darker. So and now it you see it even more each time it grows back. And I remember my sisters used to tease me like, "Why do you have hair on your belly?" Because it
Rude.
grows. You know? So yeah, it is a thing. It's, I do also hope that we get past this point. Um, Body hair, and obviously people can have their preferences, like you say, you know, you can have your preference for shaving, but I think the whole thing with body hair and for body image in general, it shouldn't be forced. It should be something that you prefer because you truly feel better about yourself, and that feeling better about yourself, I think, shouldn't be just because society dictates it. So I hope we can at least reach this point of comfortability with our bodies, that it's not perfect, that you know, sometimes we have a dad bod, or I think I have kind of a mom bod as well.
I totally have a mom bod. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So, you know, so that we can accept that. And for those that want to go to the gym and work out, and they enjoy doing so, and they enjoy building the muscles, that they all celebrate it as well, but they shouldn't be the ideal that everyone kind of pertains to, that everybody has to reach. And because sometimes it's just genetics. I remember I saw, I think it was on Instagram, uh, that someone was like, uh, they got questioned a lot about their workout routines, blah blah blah, because of their muscles. And she's like, it's genetics. Like, my body is just like this. My mom has a voluptuous body, and it's like that. And she can work out as much as she wants, but that's her body. And yes, and I think we should accept this, that some people just are able to grow more muscle. Some people are able to grow less hair, or some hair is kind of
Right.
invisible, and just, further further the diversity, extend it to body hair is my plea.
Yes,
Yes,
please, and we
we're
need to get
tired.
there as soon as possible. Yes, I'm exhausted. It's expensive, it hurts, and
Yes.
it's I don't want to anymore.
And maybe you need it for the cold. I mean, you don't need it for the cold in Texas, but maybe someday you'll travel where
Well,
you
with
need it for the
global
cold.
warming, you never know.
It might freeze in Texas in some years. We don't know that's true. That is so true. Well, is there anything else maybe that we might have not touched upon in terms of body image that you still want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about, like, body positivity and, like, what that means. Body positivity isn't it's not the opposite of, like, fat shaming. It's not the opposite of anything. Body positivity is about being comfortable and feeling sexy in the body that you have right now. It's not about, like, celebrating, whatever. It's about being comfortable and feeling sexy in the body that you have right now. And I think that there's a lot of misconception about, like, what body positivity is, because you hear a lot of hate about, like, well, the body positivity movement is just telling, you know, overweight people that, that they're just as beautiful as, super skinny people. And it's like, well, that's because it's true. And it's kind of like what like what we were talking about earlier about it's just a matter of like preference.
Mhm.
Some people prefer thick, curvy women.
Yeah.
Some people prefer dad bod men. Some people prefer, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just a matter of
Mhm.
preference. But body positivity isn't about like, you know, saying that like something, you know, that improvements can't be made or you can't try and better yourself in whatever way you choose to better yourself. It's about feeling sexy and being comfortable in the body that you have today and acceptance with that.
Yeah.
um and I think that that's really important because, like I said, I think that there's a lot of common misconceptions around like what that is. And I just, for anybody out there who like doesn't understand what it is, like, that's what it is. It's about feeling confident, feeling sexy, feeling and having that acceptance about what the body is that you woke up with this morning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I totally agree. I think some I think YouTubers I saw were coining this under body neutrality. It's just
Ooh,
accepting it. Just it is what it is, It's not better than or worse than or anything like this. This is my body. Um, just deal with it. I've accepted it. Yes, if you think I'm some super ugly person for having flabby skin, then have your opinion. But I think also keep it to yourself. I don't need to know.
exactly.
It
But
doesn't.
you don't always have to voice that opinion to people. Like, not
Yeah.
everyone cares.
Exactly. And why would you purposely try to bash people for looking the way they do? And then there's like some days I have the dark spots in my eye.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
Look at that. I
and
look like I
some
just woke up from the dead.
we're zombies. Well, some days I feel very very self conscious about it, and in these moments, like having to film this, I'm like, should I put on like foundation to cover this? And I like this quote, and I'll end on this quote. Uh, don't cover the dark spots under your eyes. Let the world know you're tired of its shit.
Yes. Yes, I need that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Totally. I don't know who started it, so I don't want to be copyrighted in case I put it on a t-shirt, but
That
I
would be
think
my
it's
luck, though.
public domain by now, so maybe we can do this. Yeah, so it's been so nice talking to you again and touching upon this subject. I mean, obviously, we can go for hours for this, but I always try to keep it under certain minutes because I have to edit as well. So, yeah, I think we can cut it here. I think we touched on most of the important points. That we face now, culturally on a global scale, in terms of body image, body positivity, female and male just human body image, because I don't want to
Yeah.
rule out any non-binary people as well, um, that might struggle with their bodies. And yeah, I think we end it there. And thank you so much. Is any last words?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate it. It was so
Oh,
fun.
maybe tell them where they can find you again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter. That's like the place that I'm most active. So at MP Wordo Podcast is my Twitter handle. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not quite as active there, but that's the underscore main underscore weirdo one. You can also email me at mandapixieweirdo@protonmail.com. If you liked what I said, if you didn't like what I said, if you want to shame me for my body, go for it.
Please, I don't condone my listeners to go body shame anyone. Please keep the opinion to yourself, please. And if you wanna go and adore her for who she is as a human being, please go
And the
ahead and do that.
giant zit on
Oh,
my chin right here, you
that
know.
that that's even another rabbit hole in itself. I mean, because I have this issue that I pop them, and I try not to pop them, and I've had uh, like treatments to clear my skin,
Mm-hmm.
and my skin was beautiful. And then I haven't had the treatment for a year, and I've been popping again, and I'm going insane.
Yeah,
But
I feel
yeah.
that.
That's another story for another day, maybe body image part two or something.
I'm so down to do that with you.
Let me see the closing words. So, thank you again for joining me. This was Abigail from the Manic Pixie Weirdo podcast, where she talks about different types of relationships with everyone. And this was Monarch of Grey closing off. Until next time on Poison Honey Podcast.